It's 1:17 in the morning. The city has gone dark. You should be asleep or finally closing out that file that's been sitting there for 3 days. But your phone vibrates on the nightstand. A flash of blue light, a simple Weverse notification. A member has posted. In that exact moment, your heart skips a beat. Your pupils dilate. You feel like that moment belongs to you, that it is private, a secret conversation between you and an idol on the other side of the world. But what if I told you that thrill is not magical at all? What if I told you it is not love, not even chance, but a dopamine injection calibrated down to the millimeter by engineers of emotion? Welcome to the age of soft manipulation. Welcome to the emotional casino. In this episode, we are not going to talk about music or choreography. We are going to lift the hood on the machine and understand how the K-pop industry pulled off the heist of the century, hacking your brain in order to turn your affection into a monthly subscription. Ready for a little joyful lucidity? Let's begin.
I write a page, you take a week. I see the end before you even speak.
Check.
You're still debating, I'm 10 steps ahead. By the time you blink, I've already fled. Laser focus, mind's in orbit. I decode the game before they sort it. Slow me down, nah, not a chance. I'm the glitch they never planned.
She's too fast. She's too loud.
It's gotta be AI.
Not normal.
Let's start with the core of the reactor, the thing that makes you stay, the thing that makes you pay. It is not the music. Music is the gateway. The thing that keeps you inside is what I call in the book manufactured intimacy. Picture the scene. You are on the subway, or maybe alone in bed. Your phone vibrates. A bubble notification appears. It's Felix, or maybe Karina. The message simply says, "I had a hard day, but knowing you're here comforts me." In that exact moment, your reptilian brain does not see a marketing strategy. It sees a confession. It feels a connection. It tells itself, he's talking to me, to me. That is where the genius of this industry lies, and the danger. Because what you have to understand is that this intimacy is not a happy accident. It is a product of social engineering. Platforms like Bubble or Weverse DM were visually designed to imitate our private messaging apps perfectly, like WhatsApp or iMessage. The interface is clean, stripped of aggressive advertising, creating a digital cocoon that practically screams private space. When an artist sends a message saying, "Sleep well, sweet dreams," they are pressing a send to all button. It is a broadcast. But on your screen, it appears as a single message bubble, a direct line. You feel like you are part of the inner circle, the privileged confidant of a global superstar. The reality, cruel and mathematical, is that this unique moment is being shared simultaneously by 200,000 other people feeling exactly what you are feeling, down to the same second. That is what I describe in my essay as Parasocial Deluxe. Classic parasociality is admiring a star from a distance. Parasocial deluxe is what happens when technology allows a two-way relationship to be simulated. The artist asks how your day went. They use inclusive pronouns, we, you and me. They break the fourth wall constantly. And you are going to tell me, Harmonie, I know it's fake. I'm not stupid. And that is exactly where it becomes fascinating. That is where behavioral psychology enters the room, because even when you know it is a mass message, the emotional effect remains. Why? Because the human need to be seen, to be validated, is stronger than our rationality. The K-pop industry understood that it was no longer selling records. It was selling company. It was selling a remedy for modern loneliness. In the book, I talk about this concept of romantic availability. For the illusion to work, the idol has to remain an emotional blank page onto which you can project fantasies of friendship or love. That is why a real-life dating announcement is experienced as betrayal by some fans. It is not just misplaced jealousy. It is the brutal rupture of the unspoken contract of manufactured intimacy. The customer suddenly realizes that the service they were paying for, being the center of the artist's emotional attention, has been interrupted. And let's be clear, this is a colossal business. In my investigation, I break down the numbers behind these platforms. It is the ultimate business model. Think about it. Once the infrastructure is in place, the marginal cost of sending a message is zero, but the revenue? Exponential. Every banal message, every emoji, every blurry photo of a meal becomes an emotional microtransaction that justifies your monthly subscription. Bubble is the Netflix of human connection. Except instead of watching a show, you are watching a simulation of your own importance in someone else's eyes. It is intimacy on demand. The margins are indecent because the fans are captive. If you unsubscribe, you are not just losing content, you are losing the bond. You are ghosting your imaginary friend. The guilt is built into the algorithm. So is it wrong? Is it dirty? Not necessarily. That is the full ambiguity I explore in K-pop and soft manipulation. The problem is not consuming that intimacy. The problem is failing to see the price tag attached to it. In the book, I give you the tools to separate the two, to enjoy that digital softness, because yes, it does feel good in a brutal world, while still keeping a healthy critical distance. It is about understanding that when your idol says, "I'd be nothing without you," in front of a stadium of 60,000 people, that is both an emotional truth and a marketing script. Both coexist. That is what I call joyful lucidity. Agreeing to play the game while knowing the rules. And above all, knowing when to stop before the love bombing turns into toxic emotional debt. If you want to know exactly how much this imaginary relationship costs you per year, and find out whether you are a victim fan or a cynical Zen master, thanks to my personality test, it is all laid out in chapters 3 and 6 of the essay. But for now, remember this. Your heart is the target, and your phone is the weapon.
Tunnel whispers got you sent on me. Mark the times you crossed without a key. No key, no key. Every signal flickers you to me. To me, to me. I don't chase, I just believe. Static hums when you're near. Do you feel it in your mirror? There's no name, just the sound of a presence underground. Yeah, this line never sleeps. Watch you pass, never speak. But I'm there in the glass, on repeat, repeat. And it's safe when I don't breathe. When you ride and I just speak. Rough track, no retreat. Yeah, this line never sleeps. I sit still, but I'm aligned so close. line never sleeps. I'm the space you don't keep. Every blink I slip deep. Not a ghost, not a dream. Just the hum beneath your theme. In a night while you sleep, yeah. This line never sleeps.
Now let's leave the soft-lit intimacy of our phones and walk into a much louder arena, and an infinitely more expensive one. I want you to picture your shelf, right there, in front of you. Look at those colorful spines, those carefully designed packages. You see those 15 copies of the same album, the same cover, the same photos, the same CD you will probably never listen to because, let's be honest, who even owns a CD player in 2026? What you are looking at is not a music collection. It is a graveyard of losing lottery tickets. Welcome to what I call the emotional casino. There was a time when meeting your idol was either a miracle or the result of endless patience in a line under the rain. Today, the industry has turned that miracle into a brutal mathematical equation. The fan sign, that sacred encounter, has become the video fan call, a virtual lottery open to everyone, as long as their wallet can take the hit. The principle is disarmingly simple and deeply terrifying. Every album you buy is one more chance. You are not paying for art, you are paying for probability. You are paying for the hope, however tiny, of getting 90 seconds of exclusivity with the object of your affection. In my book, I break down the financial mechanics of this system, and the numbers are dizzying. I cite the example of a Gen Z fan whose story was covered by Business Insider, and who spent nearly $2,400 to secure a handful of video calls. Let's do the math together, because this is where the acid needs to hit to wake us up. That comes out to about $3.30 per second of interaction. That is more expensive than a consultation with a corporate lawyer in New York, more expensive than a session with the best psychoanalyst in Paris. Except here, you are not buying expertise or healing. You are buying a simulation of intimacy, timed by staff members ready to cut the connection the very second your slot ends. But why do we do it? Why, even though we know perfectly well that it is a lottery, do we keep clicking Add to Cart? The answer is not in your heart. It is in your neuroscience. This is what is called intermittent reinforcement. It is the exact same mechanism that keeps you glued to a slot machine in Las Vegas. If you won every time, you would get bored. If you lost every time, you would walk away. But the K-pop industry has mastered the art of the almost. It sells you the idea that the next album will be the one. It is the gambler's fallacy, the irrational conviction that luck will eventually turn if you just invest enough. And the most cynical part of this whole story? The agencies are not even hiding it anymore. They have industrialized the process under the aggressively corporate name fan sign entry coupon model. They know that for you it is love, but for them, it is a foolproof way to artificially inflate sales numbers, manipulate Hanteo or Gaon rankings, and turn a musical release into a stock market event. Every comeback becomes an emotional Black Friday where thousands of fans battle with their credit cards for a crumb of attention. And when you win, let's talk about that victory. You find yourself in front of your screen, heart pounding. Your idol appears, smiling, perfect. But they are also exhausted. They are on their 300th call of the day. They are repeating scripted lines, making finger hearts, laughing at the same jokes they have already heard 10 times in the last hour. It is an assembly line of affection, a smile factory. You are living a moment you think is unique, but in reality it is standardized, sanitized, and monetized to the extreme. There is also a dimension we can no longer ignore, and one I develop at length in the chapter on the soft revolt, the ecological cost of our obsession. What happens to those thousands of albums bought in bulk to obtain the golden ticket? They often end up in the trash or abandoned on the streets of Seoul. We are facing an environmental absurdity in which plastic is being produced solely to generate a digital access code. It is a modern Faustian bargain. We sacrifice the planet and our savings for a pixelated dream that lasts 90 seconds. I am not telling you all this to make you feel guilty. I have been there too, hoping that my impulsive purchase might bring me closer to the people who make me feel alive. But it is time to call a spade, and a casino. Understanding that we are inside a rigged game of chance is the first step towards stopping ourselves from being willing victims. In K-pop and soft manipulation, I offer alternatives, ways to support your artists without falling into the trap of compulsive consumption. Because you can love the music without needing to own the same piece of plastic 15 times. Love does not need duplicates.
In the shadows where hunger calls, every craving hits, we break down the walls. Days of waiting, skies running dry. Now the table's set, and we're flying high. Flames ignite, we can't resist. This feast is the only thing on our list. Under neon glow, we come alive. Flavors hit deep, yeah, we thrive. First taste, electric, a spark in the night. Every bite hits, every note's just right. Sweet, salty, the fire, the thrill. Losing ourselves, chasing the fill. Spices dance, rolling in waves. Tetra crash, but we ride the blaze. A symphony of heat, of sugar, of bite. Lost in the rush, drowning in light. Flames ignite, we can't resist. This feast is the only thing on our list. Under neon glow, we come alive. Flavors hit deep, yeah, we thrive. First taste, electric, a spark in the night. Every bite hits, every note's just right. Sweet, salty, the fire, the thrill. Losing ourselves, chasing the fill. Plates clatter, hands reach, eyes meet. A ritual of hunger, a moment complete. Laughter rising, the world fades away. This is the high we live for today. First taste, electric, a spark in the night. Every bite hits, every note's just right. No hesitation, no second thought. Just fire and flavor, everything we've sought. So let's lose ourselves in this sweet ride. Hunger and pleasure, nothing to hide. In this moment, we're free to be. Tasting the heat, living the spree.
After everything we have just gone through, the dopamine notifications, the monetized intimacy, the fan call casino, you are probably feeling a little heavy, maybe even a little betrayed. That is normal. That is the bitter taste of the red pill. You tell yourself the system is too big, too rich, too powerful for you to change anything. You tell yourself the K-pop industry sees us as obedient, tireless cash machines with legs. And for a long time, that was true. But something is changing. a bug in the matrix, a crack in the wall of screens. What I describe in the last section of my book is that precise moment when the stan stops being just a consumer and becomes a political actor. That is what I call the soft revolt. It is not a violent revolution. Nobody is burning albums in the public square. It is subtler than that, and more insidious for the agencies. It is the moment the fan looks at their bank statement, looks at the exhaustion on their idol's face, and simply says, no. It is the awakening of a collective consciousness that suddenly realizes that without it, the machine stops instantly. The industry owns the contracts, the image rights, and the platforms. But us? We own the fuel. And we are beginning to understand that we can turn off the tap. Take one concrete example that rattled the offices of YG Entertainment. Think back to Blackpink's endless tour. 2 years on the road, stadiums packed to the brim, and not a single new song. Artistic radio silence. In the past, the fans would have waited quietly. This time, frustration mutated into action. The hashtag Blackpink comeback or boycott flooded social media, racking up millions of mentions in 48 hours. That was not hate. It was a demand for quality. It was the customer reminding the seller that loyalty has to be earned. And guess what? The agency had to respond. Vaguely, yes, but it shook. For the first time, fear had changed sides. And this is not an isolated case. Look at Stray Kids and their fandom, the Stays. In 2025, faced with the visible exhaustion of the members dragging themselves through fan calls late into the night, a campaign called Healthy Fan Culture emerged. Fans were not asking for more interaction. They were asking for less, but better. It is a beautiful paradox. Consumers asking the company to slow the pace down in order to protect their idol's mental health, and by extension, their own. Even Bang Chan eventually hinted, halfway between the lines during a live, that the pressure was unsustainable. When artist and fan quietly align against the agency's accounting logic, that is when the soft revolt becomes powerful. So, where does that lead us? To the central concept of my essay, joyful lucidity. The idea that you do not need to leave the fandom in order to be free. You do not need to stop loving in order to stop being manipulated. Joyful lucidity is going to that concert, screaming the fan chants, waving your light stick, but doing so while knowing exactly what you are buying. It is accepting the spectacle for what it is, a brilliant performance, a necessary escape, but certainly not an emotional debt you owe for life. It is like watching a magic trick. You know the woman is not really being sawed in half. You can see the false bottom of the box, but that does not stop you from applauding. On the contrary, understanding the mechanics makes the trick even more fascinating. That is what it means to become an awakened fan. It means refusing to be the sucker at the poker table and becoming the player who counts cards instead. It means choosing your battles and your spending. It means turning our passion, which used to be an exploitable weakness, into a demanding force. In K-pop and soft manipulation, I am not asking you to burn your photo cards. I am simply inviting you to take the power back. Every time you hesitate in front of an impulse purchase, every time you feel the guilt rising because you missed a live, remember this: you are not here to serve the industry. The industry is here to serve you. And today, more than ever, you have the right to dictate the rules of the game. Soft manipulation only works as long as it stays invisible. Now that you can see it, it has already lost its grip. So the next time the music starts, dance. But dance with your eyes wide open.
Too fast. Too much. She thinks too big. She moves too quick. Not normal.
Here we are, at the end of this deep dive into the back rooms of Seoul. If I had to sum up this journey in one sentence, it would be this: K-pop is not just a musical genre. It is the most brilliant, most complex, and probably most frightening cultural product of our time. It is a mirror held up to our society of connected loneliness, a perfect machine that achieved the impossible, industrializing love and turning our vital need for connection into lines of code and profit margins. It is sublime because it makes us feel immense things. It is terrifying because it knows exactly how to make us feel them, down to the second, playing our dopamine vulnerabilities like an instrument. And yet, what we touched on today is only the visible tip of the iceberg. If you want to go further, if you want to understand precisely, neurobiology and all, how your brain has been hacked by dopamine strategies, or if you are brave enough to look at the numbers in black and white behind this emotional casino that drains Gen Z bank accounts, it is all in the book. My new essay, K-pop and Soft Manipulation, is available right now on maisondemiville.com. Inside, I included a full autopsy of the system, testimonies, but also an exclusive quiz, the ultimate reality check, to finally find out whether you are a fan under influence or an awakened strategist. Never forget that understanding manipulation does not kill the magic. It simply allows you to choose which trick you want to believe in. So keep streaming, keep loving, keep feeling everything for these artists who work hard. Stay lucid, stay fans, but for the love of God, always keep the receipt for your emotions. This was Harmonie for Ink and Acid. See you very soon.
Too fast. Too much. She thinks too big. She moves too quick. Not normal.
I write a page, you take a week. I see the end before you even speak.
Check.
You're still debating, I'm 10 steps ahead. By the time you blink, I've already fled. Laser focus, minds in orbit. I decode the game before they sort it. Slow me down, nah, not a chance. I'm the glitch they never planned.
She's too fast. She's too loud.
It's gotta be AI.
Not normal.
Who am I? An error, a misfit, a shadow they fear. Who am I? Too quick, too sharp, or just too clear? Who am I? A tempest coated in fire and steel. Who am I? I'm me, and that's too real.
To a slower flow. Confidence dripping in every line.
They say I move like I don't belong. I build worlds while they sing the same song. One step, two step, I break the mold. Blueprints burned, I make my own gold. She's working too fast, must be a cheat. Not just a mind, they can't compete. She's got no patience, she's over the top. Not just a vision that won't be stopped.
Too fast. Too much.